Hello, everyone. Nice to see you on my channel, Touching Stories. Today you will hear an amazing story that is based on real events. It's a drama that will be a very important lesson for everyone. Give him to an orphanage. What do we need him for? David hissed quietly. We'll have children of our own. I don't have a good relationship with him. Are you out of your mind? Just as quietly, his wife objected to him. He's not just a child. He's my brother. How am I going to give him up? In that case, the ultimatum is either me or him. I don't want to raise someone else's child. I married you, not all your kin. Lily slowly sank to the couch. She was shocked at the words of her beloved husband. 2 months ago, they had been a happy family. And now, she was 20 years old when she met Davidom. Handsome, smart, an adult 8 years older than her. She liked the man immediately. The romance spiraled rapidly. David and Lily dated for a year, then got married. The wedding was fabulous, as a girl has dreamed since childhood of a beautiful dress, white veil, and cars. Beloved parents by their side. The guys lived happily for 2 years. They were in no hurry to have children. Lily wanted to finish college, but 2 months ago this family's life changed. Her parents died in a car accident. It was a real shock for the girl. For a long time she could not believe what was happening. But it was impossible for Lily to let go. She was left with a younger brother. He, of course, is not a baby Pasha 12, but still needs support and care. No kin left for Lily and Jacoba. 2 bloods in almost the whole world. That's why it was so natural for the girl that she would take her brother into her family. But her husband had a different opinion. He did not get along with Jacob and constantly hinted to Lily that the boy should be given to an orphanage. The girl pretended not to notice her husband's hints. But today the ostrich game was over. Her husband put the matter to rest. Lily didn't know what to do. It was the hardest choice she had ever made. A choice with no margin for error. After a hard conversation, David went to work on the night shift, and Lily peeked into the room her brother was now occupying. The boy methodically put his things in the backpack. "Where are you going?" The girl asked her brother. "I heard you talking." Flapping his nose, Jacob answered. "I don't want to go to an orphanage. I'd rather want to go to an orphanage. I'd rather run away somewhere else." "I'm not going to put you in an orphanage," Lily said quietly. "You're lying," Jacob shouted. "You will choose your David, and you don't need me. I used to make fun of you when I was little." The boy was crying in earnest, tears streaming down his baby face that he couldn't stop. "Jacob, what are you talking about? The candy left in the report. Not the worst joke about the spirit I broke, but the shoes I painted on purpose." And Jacob wanted to bring up something else, but Lily quickly walked over to him and hugged him. "Unpack your backpack and come to the kitchen. We'll have dinner. And then we can watch TV." The boy smiled and began to unpack, and Lily walked thoughtfully out of the room. She knew for a fact that she would not give her brother to an orphanage. How could she do that? It was a betrayal. But at the same time, Lily didn't want to lose her husband. She really hoped that David had given her the ultimatum for nothing, because he was angry. And tomorrow morning he would come and say he was joking and life would go on. Soon Lily will graduate and go to work. Life will be easier. With these thoughts to comfort herself, she prepared dinner. She and her brother ate and lay down to watch a movie. Lily didn't know yet that soon her usual life would fall apart. David pushed Lily forcefully toward the couch. The girl stumbled and flopped on the soft cushions with her butt. It didn't hurt, but it hurt a lot. Her husband hovered over her. "Are you stupid? You decided to trade me for this boy. Put him in an orphanage and don't ruin our lives," he yelled. The girl pressed herself into the couch. In the morning she did not manage to talk to her husband. He came in from his shift tired, and she had to have time to feed her brother, send him to school, and run herself to the institute. So the hard conversation took place now. The girl was glad that Jacoba was not at home. The boy should not see it. I can't put my brother in an orphanage. It's not right. It's not fair. How am I going to live with that later? Trying to get through to my husband, Lily. Thousands of people do the wrong thing and live with it. And you're just such a saint, right? Why do I have to feed you? Okay, you're my wife. I chose you. I love you, but the boy is nothing to me. David, be patient. I'll get my diploma soon and go back to work. I'll feed Jacoba myself. After all, he's not a burden to us. I told you yesterday it was either me or him. It's the only option. David stared at his wife. Lily looked up tearful eyes. So quietly began the girl, I choose my brother. Sorry. She wanted to get up from the couch, but the man grabbed her firmly by the shoulders and began to shake her. He shouted curses. Lily dangled like a helpless puppet in the hands of the evil puppeteer. There was no telling how it would have ended, but David's phone rang. He was distracted for a second, and Lily jumped up from the couch and quickly ran into the room that now belonged to her brother. The girl knew she had made the right decision not to put her own brother in an orphanage. A true betrayal. But how would they get on with their lives? With Davidom, the girl had no idea. She didn't work until she graduated. She had just over 3 months to go. After she received her papers, she planned to get a job, but in the meantime, she wanted to finish her studies in peace. Her husband didn't drive Lily to work. David had a good salary, and she and Lily had enough to live on. In principle, even having an extra mouth to feed. That's what David called his wife's brother. Didn't make a big hole in the family budget. But her husband, on principle, did not want to support the boy. It wasn't even about the money. The guy just didn't want Jacoba in his house. All these thoughts wandered through her mind as she monotonously packed up her brother's things. It's good that they have a place to go. From my deceased parents, I was left with a 2-bedroom apartment. Lily hasn't been in there since Mom and Dad's funeral. She didn't even dare unpack their things. She just packed up her brother, locked the apartment, and left. It had been 2 months since Lily had been where she had once grown up and been happy. Now she and Davidom have to go back to the apartment. How hard can it be? Going into the place where you were once happy, where there are still things of their parents, and they themselves are so dear and loved is no longer there. After gathering Lily's things, she went to the room where she and Davidom slept. Her husband watched intently as she pulled out her suitcases and began to pack. "Are you sure about what you're doing?" he clarified. "Yes," Lily answered quietly. "Mind you, I won't take it back, even if you come crawling on your knees." Having said these last words, the man quickly left the room. All this was heard as the front door slammed shut. At that moment her strength left her and she sobbed bitterly. Somehow she stuffed her things into her suitcase. Lily made her way to the kitchen. With a quick movement, the girl opened the cabinet and looked at the supplies. She pulled out a couple of packets of pasta, a bag of buckwheat. Lily put her loot in a bag. She had to stash it all away, or her husband wouldn't let her take the food. Lily wouldn't be surprised. David showed a very different side of himself. What could she expect from this man? The girl didn't know it all now. She had no money. What would they eat? She did not know. So pasta and buckwheat would come in handy. There might be some more supplies in her parents' apartment. Of course she would try to find a job, but she couldn't quit school either. My God, how difficult it all was. The uncertainty frightened her. Lily cast a quick glance at her watch. Her brother was due back from school in about 15 minutes. That was good. Maybe they'd have time to leave the apartment before David arrived back. She didn't want to see her husband again. Lily was tired of fighting and figuring things out. The doorbell rang and she hurried into the hallway. On the threshold stood Jacob. "Don't get undressed, we're getting out of here." "I packed your things quickly," Lily said, and handed her brother a bag. "Where are we going?" surprised the boy. "Home. David is not ready to live with you, and I am not ready to give you up. Are you? Are you sure?" quietly murmured his brother. "Yes," Lily smiled and winked. And Jacob picked up his suitcase and looked around sadly. Here she had lived for 2 years, happy and loved. It was a shame it had to end this way. Lily slammed the door. She and her brother walked down to the first floor by the mailboxes. As the girl slowed down, she dropped her apartment keys into one of them. So they agreed with Davidom coming home. He would get them out. Lily didn't need the keys anymore. She couldn't come back here. She had made her choice. She had no right to make a mistake. Lily and Jacob walked to the bus stop with their suitcases in their hands. The girl had some change. She also borrowed some from Davidom. He always had to empty his pockets when he came home. At one time, there was a big pile of change on the nightstand by the front door. To keep the money from lying around, Lily put a special jar, and now the scrap metal was dumped into it. It was from this jar that the girl took the money for the trip. It was good that there were rubles and less than 5 rubles in the jar. Otherwise, from the 10 kopeck coins, they certainly would not have brought it. It was a 15-minute drive from my husband's apartment to my home. Lily and Jacobom settled near the entrance and rode in silence. Everyone's spirits were heavy and various thoughts roamed in their heads. As cowardly as Jacob was, it was obvious from him that he was afraid to go back to the apartment he had lived in all his life, afraid to face reality, to admit that Mom and Dad were gone. Lily was overcome with similar feelings and thoughts. She also thought about her wife. How could he do this to her? She thought she knew her husband well, and here it was. And Lily was also afraid of the responsibility she had taken upon herself. Now she was responsible not only for her own life, but for her brother's as well. When she lived with her parents, they protected her from all the troubles, came to her in a difficult moment, and solved all problems. Then Lily came under the wing of her adult husband. David also tried to keep his wife out of trouble. Perhaps that is why the man was surprised that she did not want to give Jacoba to an orphanage. Everyone thought she was a delicate flower. She showed thorns just how much her scent would suffice. Wouldn't the first hardships break the girl? Time would tell. The door of her parents' apartment opened with a creak, as if a crypt had been opened with a creak, as if a crypt had been opened. The smell of musty dust from the uninhabited room hit her nose immediately, Lily thought. Not surprising, since she hadn't been here since her parents' funeral, and that's over 2 months now. "What are we going in for?" Lily asked her brother. The boys were still tentatively stomping on the threshold. They were scared, very scared and sad. "Come on," Jacob said with an infantile sigh. Holding hands, brother and sister crossed the threshold of their home. The girl quickly flicked the switch, and the bright light filled the hallway. Her eyes immediately darted to her mother's slippers, so flirty and pink with big pansies. In Lily's nose, she dropped in a quick motion, sliding the slippers under the closet, hoping Jacob didn't notice them. But the boy saw everything. He tried to discreetly wipe away the incoming tears. "Shall we go over too loudly to hide our excitement?" Jacob asked. "Go ahead," Lily agreed. Breaking apart, she walked quickly into the depths of the apartment and closed the room that had once been her parent. She and Sashka had enough of 2 rooms, and she wasn't ready to touch her parents' bedroom. It was all too heavy. Jacob took the room where he had lived before the tragic events. Everything there was dusty. So the brother and sister started cleaning, putting the rooms they would be using in order. The boys drank empty tea and went to bed. Lily thought she wouldn't be able to sleep for a long time, but she fell asleep literally in seconds. Apparently, the stress of the last few days had taken its toll. In the morning, Jacob ran off to school, and Lily tried to figure out how to live her life. The first thing to do was to take care of all the paperwork, custody arrangements, and various payments. Encouraged, Lily went on the internet to find out what paperwork was needed to process the payments. The girl's enthusiasm quickly waned as soon as she saw the list of documents. There was no time to be sad or afraid. She found the telephone number of the child welfare authorities and called. No one answered the phone, but not to waste any time, the girl went there. Lily was very afraid that she would be scolded, that they would tell her brother that children are not given to people like her. After all, by and large, Lily has nothing. She doesn't work, which means she simply can't support Lily. But apparently, on this day, someone upstairs took pity on the stubborn girl. At the welfare office, Lily was taken to a beautiful woman, Berta, who explained everything to her visitor in detail. In fact, everything was not so terrible. But the first thing the girl had to do was get a divorce. If her husband didn't agree to take custody of Jacob, neither could Lily. The only way out was a divorce. Another problem the girl needed to solve as soon as possible was employment. A certificate was needed for the previous year. When Lily heard this, she almost cried. "Don't worry," Berta reassured her. "You bring a certificate that you work, and then we'll decide. There's always a loophole." Lily left custody full of determination. She believed everything would work out. The main thing was to get a job and get a divorce. And the rest of the paperwork was a technical matter. Lily believed in success, not even knowing how many difficulties awaited her along the way. The next day, she called her husband. "Well, do you want to go back already?" He laughed into the phone. "And I will not accept, I warned you." "David, look, I'm not going back anywhere." "You kicked me out, I get it." "I just wanted to ask," and Lily hesitated. "Anyway, come with me to the registry office. I want to file for divorce, and if we go together, it'll go faster. That's why I'm asking." "Are you out of your mind?" David yelled in his own voice. "I won't give you a divorce, I won't. And you can't get custody of your little brother. Not without my consent. You got it, bitch." The man kept yelling. Lily pressed the hang-up button, giving vent to bitter tears. But how could she be so wrong? How she thought David was the best of men, and he turned out to be a real scumbag. Having managed the flow of tears, Lily picked up the phone and dialed the number of her classmate Jeannie. She had worked as a waitress in a cafe for a long time, and she said they were always in need of workers. Lily had always thought that such a job wasn't right for her. But now, everything had drastically changed. "Hi, Jeannie. It's Lily. I'm not disturbing you," she said into the phone. "Oh, hi, Lily. A little distracted. But if it's quick, I'll listen to you. You said the cafe you work at is always in need of people. I should get a job." Lily mumbled embarrassedly. "Princess, is that you? How will you run with the tray?" Jenny glared cheerfully, but in a moment becoming serious-mouthed. "That it's so bad," Lily replied, fighting another attack of tears. "But you're not. Do not lose heart. I'll find out about the vacancies and call you back, okay?" Yes, thank you." Lily started to thank her friend, who called back in about an hour. "Lily, there are no jobs in the cafe," Ginny spoke quickly. "But you do not get upset. Do you want to try working in the store? It's a good place, it's paid. I would go there myself, but Mary works there, and I do not work with her, not an option. You know I stole her boyfriend." Sighing heavily, Ginny finished. "Yes, of course, I agree. I do not have a choice anyway. I really need the job." "Well, then write down the address of the store and the phone number of the owner." Jeannie quickly dictated the coordinates. They called and made an appointment. "The place is a big deal. I found out about it by chance." "Well, thank you," said Lily, and immediately hung up. She did not hesitate and dialed the number that her friend had given her. A woman with a similar voice answered the phone. Lily quickly explained what she was calling about, and the lady made an appointment. The girl had to be at the store in an hour. Upon arriving, Lily realized that the store was not an easy one. A beautiful sign, expensive interior, sellers in uniform. "Hello, where can I find Melsidou?" Lily asked one of the girls who worked in the store. "Just a moment," she answered, and ran off somewhere to the side. Lily sat down on a low sofa and waited for her mistress. She appeared in a couple of minutes. "I am Melsidou," the woman introduced herself. "Are you Lily?" "Yes," she answered quickly. She couldn't stop staring at the woman who was to meet her. She had not often seen such beautiful and well-groomed women. "Lily, let me tell you about the store, and you think about whether it is a good place for you," she said. Lily nodded affirmatively, and the shopkeeper continued, "It is a store of exclusive men's clothing. Mostly wealthy people dress here. That's why the service in our store must be of the highest quality. From you as a salesperson required courtesy, the desire to please the customer, the ability to smooth out conflicts. Men often come here with their wives or soulmates, so no flirting, smiling, or coquetting. If I see you, I'll fire you. If I see you, I'll fire you. Is that understood?" "Yes," Lily nodded. "The girls work in shifts. 2 days work, 2 days rest. The salary is fixed, plus a percentage. But more about that later. If you are satisfied with everything, then take a probationary period. If a month will not complain, work together. Otherwise, we'll say goodbye." Lily nodded in agreement. She really liked the store. She liked the atmosphere there. She wanted to touch that luxury, to be a part of it. "If everything is clear, I suggest we start work tomorrow. Do you agree?" "Yes," Lily smiled. "Well then, come by tomorrow at 9:00, and we'll take care of all the paperwork. I will introduce you to the assortment and the details of the work." Lily came out of the store inspired. She believed that the new place of work was a new page in her life. Lily quickly fell into a new routine. Now she had not only to prepare for her graduation, but also to go to work, to take care of Jacoby, to do the paperwork. The guys had no money, so Lily ran up debts. It's good, at least the girlfriends didn't say no. The 2-1 workdays went great. Lily listened attentively to Melsidou, trying to remember everything, not to mix up anything. The store manager noticed her diligence, and she loved it. As soon as Lily had a day off, she immediately went to the registry office. She had to file for divorce. How long will it take? She asked the registry clerk. "Well, if there are no children and the husband agrees, then everything will be quick. A month for the divorce. And if the husband is against it?" Frightened, asked Lily. "Then it can take a long time," said the registry clerk. But she was lucky David went somewhere and did not show up at the appointed day. They were quickly separated. The guys had no children and no property disputes either. Everything went smoothly, which Lily couldn't help but be happy about. After receiving the divorce certificate, the girl hurried to gather the other necessary documents for custody. Things were moving slowly but surely. Everything worked out great with her job, too. Lily passed her probation. She liked her work, even though she was very tired. Customers were sometimes very capricious, demanding. Some could be rude, others could slap her on the ass with an unpleasant laugh and say, "Hurry up and move." We had to be patient. At times it was very hard, especially the proud Lily, not used to this kind of treatment. But she endured not for herself, for Jacoba. The boy was growing up and wanted new clothes, gadgets, normal food, not the empty pasta that the boys ate for the first month. By the way, Jacob was not capricious. He appreciated his sister's efforts and helped as much as he could. In general, brother and sister lived amicably, but their usual routine collapsed because of the named guest. Lily lay on the couch that day, trying to recover from 2 very difficult days at work. A new shipment had been brought into the store, and it was surprisingly crowded these days. Lily was exhausted not only mentally but also physically, so she needed to rest. Jacob ran off to practice, and she dozed off. Her peace was disturbed by the insistent ringing of the doorbell. Well, Jacob forgot his keys again. Climbing out from under the plaid, mumbled Lily as she headed for the door. The girl was sure her brother was trying to get into the apartment, so she swung the doors open. Didn't even look through the peephole. "Jacob, but what are you?" Lily couldn't finish. The words stuck in her throat. It wasn't Jacob who was standing on the doorstep. It was her ex-husband. "You," she said quietly, staring at the man with her eyes wide open. And I wickedly grinned David and entered the apartment, quickly slamming the door. "What are you doing here?" Struggling with surprise, Lily asked. "I came to visit you, David, my beloved wife," he muttered. Just then the girl caught a strong smell of alcohol coming from her ex-husband, and she became frightened. She did not know how David could behave under the influence of alcohol. Lily had no idea what to expect from this man. "David, what do you want?" "We've made up our minds. You kicked me out," she said, fighting the panic. "You left on your own. You chose your dear brother. You should have done as I asked, and we would have lived happily ever after. Why don't you come back? You haven't done the paperwork yet." I did, and Lily still answered quietly. She did not believe it. A few days ago, she had finally finished the paperwork. "Tell me." "But you miss her," David muttered, grabbing her by the arm. Lily tried to pull the limb out, but it didn't work. "Do you miss me?" He repeated the question insistently to his wife. "No," said Lily quietly. "I have no time to be bored. I have work, studies, things to do. And I miss you," angrily spoke the guy and piled on top of her with his whole body, pushing his ex-wife against the wall. David tried to kiss her. The girl resisted, but she couldn't cope with the strong man. David's hands slid down Lily's body. The girl tried to pull away, lashing out at her resistance would only make the man more agitated. "Let me go, please," Lily whispered, realizing what her ex-husband was about to do to her. "No, darling, I want to punish you for your disobedience and to enjoy you in general." Lily was numb at the words of the once beloved man. Gathering all her strength into a fist, the girl pushed Davidom away from her and rushed into the room. But she could not get far away. He grabbed her by the robe and threw her to the floor. In that position, Lily was powerless and unable to put up proper resistance. That's what he needed. Looking at his ex-wife with superiority, he took her by force. Lily screamed in pain, praying for David to let her go. But it was as if the man didn't hear. After doing his dirty work, he pulled on his pants and spat greedily on the floor and left the apartment, saying goodbye. "Now we're even." Lily sat on the floor in the hallway with her arms around her knees and cried silently. She could not believe that David could do this to her, to abuse her in such a dirty, mean way. What to do, she did not know. The first thought that arose in her mind was to go to the police. But she was frightened, not for herself, but mostly for her brother. What if David did something to Jacobu? She reasoned. After all, he didn't love him anyway. There is no telling how long Lily would have sat on the floor, but at some point she heard a key turn in the door. Jacob came in the door. Jacob came in. She didn't want her brother to see her like this. So she quickly got up and opened the lukewarm water. Lily frantically scrubbed herself with a washcloth and tried to wash away all the dirt that had lodged deep in her shower. Of course, the water didn't help with the situation, but it calmed her nerves a bit. And soon Lily was out of the bathroom, tangled in a large bathrobe. "Hey," shouted Jacob from the kitchen. "What are you doing in the bathroom? Let's have some tea. Come on." She answered and hurried to her brother. Even though part of Lily didn't want to, she felt an urgent need to be with someone. No, she wasn't going to tell her brother what had happened. It was just his chattering about the boys' training and school that distracted her from her sad thoughts. She ordered herself not to think about what had happened, just not to think. Nothing could be changed, which meant she just had to get over it and move on. Make a decision. Don't think and don't think and don't think about the problems. Actually, things are completely different. All night long, Lily spun around in bed like she was on a red-hot frying pan. Abandoned memories kept popping up in her head, causing her heart to clench in pain. Lily wasn't just thinking about the act that David had done. For some reason, she was reminded of all the good times she had had with her ex-husband, and that made it hurt even more. Only by morning, completely devastated, the girl fell into a disturbing dream. She dreamed as if she was flying into a deep abyss, trying to catch her arms, but she could not do anything, and she was flying somewhere down, where it was scary and dangerous. Lily woke up from her own screaming, quickly sat up in bed and shook her head. "Lily, is everything all right?" "Somewhere very close," asked Jacob in a trembling voice. The girl flinched, frightened. She had been so caught up in her emotions after her nap that she hadn't noticed her brother standing beside the bed. "It's okay, just a bad dream," she muttered. "Why are you here?" "Yes, you were screaming so much that I got scared and came running." Quietly, the boy answered. "Sorry," guiltily looking at her brother, said Lily. Jacob obediently went barefoot into his room, and Lily collapsed on her pillow, but the pillow was damp, apparently in her sleep. Lily had not only screamed, but cried as well. There was no more dreaming. She was silent, gazing into the semi-darkness of the room, trying to calm herself. Soon the alarm clock rang, and Lily rang. She hurried to the kitchen. She needed to make breakfast for Jacob. After sending her brother off to school, she lay down to rest and fell asleep unnoticed. She was awakened by the phone next to her. A text message came in. Lily quickly opened it. "Forgive me," read the girl on the screen. She shook her head and rubbed her eyes and sat up comfortably. She reread the message again. "Forgive me," out loud she said. She looked again at the sender's name. There was no mistake. The message had been sent by David. The girl silently put the phone away and looked at the ceiling. "I'm sorry," she said out loud again. Damn, he had it so easy. "I'm sorry." She was really hysterical. She screamed and cried and ran around the room, throwing on the floor, cushions, chairs, clothes, everything she could get her hands on. Then she sank back down on the bed, and in her head, as if her heart was empty too, as if through absorbent cotton, Lily heard her phone vibrate again. Another message came from him. The girl did not open it, but apparently, on this day her ex-husband decided to test her strength, because 10 minutes later the phone began to ring. "What do you want?" yelled into the tube Lily. "Didn't you say and do everything? You're trying to kill me," she screamed, choking back tears. "Lily, don't shout. Listen." On the other end of the phone, his voice lacked yesterday's insolence and aggression. But Lily didn't let him finish. "I don't want to hear it. I heard and saw everything yesterday," she said as she pressed the answer button. The despair that had previously overwhelmed her was replaced by anger, irritation, and rage. She didn't understand how a man could so easily call her and ask for forgiveness after everything he had done, as if he had stepped on a transport. Putting the phone aside, the girl hurried to the bathroom. She needed to clean herself up, calm down, and tidy her room. She'd made a terrible mess, and she didn't want Jacob to see it all. There was no need to drag the boy into her problems. By the time her brother arrived, Lily had managed to get the apartment relatively tidy, but the girl was troubled at heart. She was afraid that David would not let go of her so easily. What did her ex-husband want? She did not understand. After all that had happened, she felt that it made no sense to have any conversations. She was also worried about her brother. Tomorrow was Saturday. She had to go to work. And on Sunday she would have to work all day, and her brother would be on his own. No, Jacob is a good, bright boy. But what if her ex-husband decides to visit them again? She doesn't know what the man has in mind. If David did this to her, the girl he loved, what can he do to the boy he can't stand? She tried not even to think about that. But then the front door slammed, and whistling, she hurried to meet her brother. "Hello?" she said, looking at Jacoba. "Hello," replied the boy. "Lily, can I go to Richard Dew's cottage this weekend? His parents invite me to visit. Of course you can, but I have to call his parents first, Lily said. She was happy that Jacoba had been invited to visit. She knew the family very well, and now she could not worry about her brother being alone at home for the weekend. Lily called the parents of the deceased classmate, and they said that they were going to go to the country house in the evening, so at 8 they would pick up Davidom. She helped her brother pack for the trip, and after walking him home, she decided it would be a good idea to take a shower and go to bed early. But Lily was distracted from the water by searching for her phone. The phone reported that it was out of charge. She took the phone in her hands and was surprised to realize that there were a bunch of missed calls from David and a lot of messages. She wasn't going to call back, but she opened a couple of messages. In them, her ex-husband apologized and demanded that Lily talk to him. Dejectedly, she shook her head. She put her phone on charge and went to take a shower. Lily barely had time to get out of the shower when she heard a persistent doorbell ring. She went to the door but was in no hurry to open it. Guessing who was standing there, who was there gathering more air in her lungs, Lily asked. "It's me," David answered through the door. "Why are you here? What do you want?" "Lily, open up. We have nothing to talk about." "Go away," Lily said, trying to cope with the rising panic. Her hands were shaking and her heart was beating so hard it seemed to leap out of her chest. "Don't be silly and don't be afraid. I won't do anything bad. I want to talk. I want to apologize. You don't have to do anything. Just go away." "I won't go," David said stubbornly. "I'll get you to open up anyway. We have to talk." "We need to talk to who?" shouted Lily at the closed door. "I don't want anything. Just go away. Otherwise, I will call the police." She finished her speech. "You won't?" said David. "Yeah, you don't know me very well. David, go away. I don't need a showdown. I have to work tomorrow. Let me rest." Lily fell silent, listening to what was going on in the stairwell. It was suspiciously quiet. She looked through the peephole. Her ex-husband was standing in front of the door with a frown on his face, and then, as if he felt the stare, and said, "I'm going to leave now. But we will have to talk, bad or good. But there will be talk." Having said these words, he left, and Lily sank helplessly to the floor. She was glad Jacoba wasn't home, that her brother hadn't seen this concert. But she was also aware that her ex-husband would not leave her alone. In the morning, Lily woke up shattered, horrible circles under her eyes and shaggy all over her body. The girl seemed to have slept through the night on heavy thoughts constantly going through her head, not allowing her to rest properly. In bed, Lily tried to figure out how to convey to her ex-husband that she didn't want to communicate with him, see him, or have anything in common at all. Maybe, really, write a statement to the police, the girl reasoned. But what do I say? My husband wants to talk, and I'm afraid, silly. I'm afraid they will laugh at me. Having come up with nothing sensible, the girl went to work in the depths of her soul, hoping that David would leave her alone. But her hopes crumbled like a house of cards. No sooner had Lily worked until 2 p.m., the phone started ringing off the hook from her ex-husband. On call 10, the girl couldn't take it anymore and quickly left for the back room. Good thing there were no customers in the store at that moment. "What do you want?" She picked up the phone and asked. "To talk," David answered. "What do you want? What do you want? I don't want anything from you and I don't want to see you. Leave me alone. Why are you so stubborn? I've been asking you nicely for days, and you're as stubborn as a sheep. If you don't want to talk normally, I'll make you crawl to me on your knees." Spitefully mouthed into the tube, David and turned off the phone. These words really scared her. She could no longer cope with the tension. The girl's nerves gave out and she cried bitterly, sitting in the back room at work. After a couple of minutes, one of her colleagues, Mary, entered the room. The girls weren't really friends. They just chatted on the job, nothing more. "Lily, what are you doing here? The missus will be here soon. We need to clean up." But then the glass girl saw Lily crying. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Nothing." Choking on her tears, Lily said. "Don't lie. I'm not your girlfriend, of course, but you can tell me what happened." "I won't say anything. Maybe I'll give you some advice." Lily looked at the crying eyes and suddenly told me the whole story, without any embellishment or concealment. "How could you not see such a jerk?" Mary asked in amazement. He seemed okay." Lily shrugged. "What's there to talk about? What's done is done. I just don't know what to do now. Don't be sad. I have an idea, but I'll tell you later. Now let's wash up and go to the hall. Otherwise they'll turn us in to the landlady and say we haven't been working. Listen, I think you need to go somewhere," Mary whispered in her ear. "No, of course you could try going to the police and telling them that your ex-husband is stalking you. But I am not sure that they will do it. Better still go away." "That's a great plan," Lily grinned sadly. "But you forget I have no one else but my brother. I might run away, but I can't leave Jacoba. That's why this plan doesn't work for me." Lily finished quietly. "So you don't mind leaving?" Mary asked. "I don't mind leaving." Mary asked. "I don't mind, but only with my brother. My grandmother lives in the village." Mago quickly spoke. "She has a big house, a farm. I can call her and ask her to take you in. I'm sure grandmother will agree to stay for free, but you'll have to help with the chickens in the garden." "How about that? I don't even know," mumbled Lily. "It's uncomfortable somehow, especially since I have a job at Jacoba School. And what to live on in the village. You can forget about it. Grandma will be glad to take you. She lives alone. Grandpa died a long time ago. My parents don't visit her much. So do I. Grandma doesn't want to come to town. She still has a lot of strength. But it's true, she's a bit bored on her own. That's why you'd be great company for her. So you decide on the school. I think you can manage everything. There's less than a week left to study. With work, of course, problems, but it's up to you to decide. Anyway, think about it." "Okay, thank you," Lily said. "Girls, you will talk all day today," looking at Mary and Lily unhappily, said Zoe Sr. in this shift. "Come on, let's go." In one voice they answered and hurried toward the man who had entered the store. Lily performed her duties automatically and thought about Mary's offer. On the one hand, going away to the country is a wonderful decision. David would calm down and forget about her. But on the other hand, she didn't want to leave everything and go to who knows where. Sveta liked working in the store. She liked the staff and she was happy with the pay. She did not want to give it all up. The day's work came to an end, and she leisurely went home to enjoy the nice weather. But Lily's mood soured as she approached the house. David was sitting on the bench outside the entrance. She wanted to turn around and leave the courtyard, but there was no point in doing so. The boy had already seen her and came up to meet her. "Stop. There is no point in running away," David said loudly when he saw that Lily wanted to turn around and leave the yard. She stopped and sighed heavily. She didn't want to talk to her ex-husband, but Lily was not afraid. It was bright outside. There were people walking around. Not far away, young mothers were walking with their children in the playground. With so many people, David would hardly allow himself too much. "What did you want? I told you I didn't want to talk to you." "Lily, listen to me. I wanted to apologize for my behavior. I was wrong. I'm sorry." David spoke without looking at the girl. "But it was your fault you ruined our life. You could have put the boy in an orphanage and—" Lily interrupted her ex-husband. "We've been over this. Why are you doing it again? You kicked me out. I left. I get it. What now?" "Come back here," David said quietly. That Lily opened her mouth at what she heard. "Come back. I can't do it without you. I was wrong. Are you out of your mind, Evil?" Lily asked. "Maybe I could come back to you. But after what you did, I don't even want to know you. You are a horrible person, And I only wonder one thing, how I didn't see your guts before." After these words, Davidom's eyes twisted with unkind fire. He grabbed Light by the arm and whispered, "You shouldn't do that. You'd better come back to me while I call you nicely, or else." David didn't get a chance to finish. Lily jerked her arm out and ran toward the entryway from which a neighbor was just leaving, and the door slammed shut behind the girl. David stayed on the other side, but Lily did not relax. She quickly climbed the stairs to her floor, unlocked the apartment door, went inside, and locked herself in. Only then could the girl breathe out. "And still I have to run," she thought. "David just won't leave me alone. I'm afraid of him. I'm afraid that he might hurt me or my brother. That means I have to hide. I have no choice. We'll go to my grandmother's in the village." Lily tore herself out of bed all night, and by morning she was even more convinced that going to the village to Marinoy's grandmother was the only right thing to do. But in order to do that, she had to settle her current affairs. On her way out the door, the girl turned around several times, afraid that David was lurking somewhere, but her ex-husband was not there. That reassured her a little. She hoped that she and Jacobu could leave in peace. The girl went to work with a heavy heart. She really didn't want to quit, but she had no choice. Mosada, of course, was not thrilled that Lily had decided to leave. The woman was pleased with her work, but she did not discourage it. She even made concessions, allowing her not to work for 2 weeks. When the job was settled, Lily wondered what to do about school. The end of the school year was just around the corner, and she hoped that the teachers would also make concessions, allowing the boy to go to the country early. However, Jacob himself, having returned from his friend's dacha, was not delighted at the prospect of spending 3 months in the countryside. Lily whined, he. "What would I do there? No internet, no friends. Probably the TV doesn't work there either. Well, that's fine." In a fake, cheerful voice, my sister said, "You'll enjoy nature, and Grandma Stefani will carry water to the garden." Lily was not happy about it either, but she saw no other way out, especially since David had already called Lily several times, and she knew that he would not just stop. Strangely enough, but the school situation was also resolved rather quickly and successfully. It turned out that all the grades were already made up, and the children attended classes more for the sake of formality. So, having arranged with the school principal that Jacob would no longer be attending classes this year, Lily hurried home. She quickly packed her traveling bag, her things, and helped her brother pack. Lily hoped that they would soon be able to return home to their usual life. The village greeted them with a dusty road and the heavy smell of manure. "Yes, it's a beauty," mumbled a disgruntled Jacob. "Don't whine." Looking sternly at her brother, Lily muttered, and walked briskly toward the houses. Lily could see the green chimneys in the distance. That was where they had to go. Stephanie they found in the vegetable garden. The woman was tending the beds and, noticing the guests, dropped what she was doing and straightened up. "How did you get there?" The woman asked in a friendly manner. "Are you tired? Hungry?" Lily and Jacobum assured her that they had made it all right and that they weren't hungry. The hostess was satisfied with these answers, and she took the boys inside to show them where they could settle down. Grandma Stephanie gave her brother and sister a fairly spacious room. There were 2 beds, a dresser, and a mirror. Modest, of course, but clean. But the boy did not like what he saw at all. But there was no television, Jacob hummed. "Stop it," his sister whispered at him, afraid that she might hear her brother's moaning and be offended. Jacob and his sister had been living in the village for a week. The days passed one by one. She helped Stephanie in the vegetable garden, cooked meals, and went over the house. Unused to this kind of work, Lily would fall into bed in the evening and quickly fall asleep. Even though she felt homesick in the countryside, she knew she had done the right thing. In the first few days, the calls from Davidom did not stop. Yes, and he sent an endless number of messages. But as time passed and her ex-husband called less and less frequently, she was glad she did. But she was in no hurry to go back to the city. Especially Jacob, though he whined that the countryside was boring, was able to find something to his liking. The boy befriended a neighbor and with his help repaired an old bicycle. Now Jacoba had something to do. He rode his bicycle down the street all day long. He even got to know the local boys, and they welcomed him into their company. All was quiet and peaceful until Lily didn't feel well. In the morning, she woke up early as usual. She had to make breakfast and go help Grandma Stefani in the vegetable garden before it got too hot. While doing her chores, the girl realized that she wasn't feeling quite well. Lily felt dizzy, nauseous, and weak. She constantly wanted to sit down. "Are you not feeling well?" a worried Stefani asked Lily as she entered the kitchen. Yes, the girl answered quietly and hurried outside, as she was beginning to feel very nauseous. "I must have been poisoned with something," Lily muttered. Back in the house. "Only with what?" muttered the old woman. "It's strange, we all seem to be eating together. You go ahead. Jacoba will feed you," the older woman said to her. "We've done our chores too." The girl obediently went to her room, lay down on her bed, and quickly fell asleep. Lily slept most of the day. When she got up in the evening, she felt considerably better. Weakness was present, but no nausea. Leanness was present, but no nausea. Writing off the morning's malaise as poisoning. But the next day, history repeated itself. She was terribly pained and ignorant. "Lily, forgive me, of course, but maybe you're pregnant." Looking at the girl, Stefani asked a question. "Yes, I kind of began to be Lily, but I ran out and quickly, getting up from her seat, went into the room." There the girl looked at the calendar, a week late. How could she have forgotten about it? "Oh, no, aloud," said Lily. Was it really? She was in a panic. Was she really expecting David's baby? Lily used to take the pill when they lived together, but she stopped taking it after the divorce. And why should she, when she didn't have a man? The girl spun all these thoughts around in her head in a panic and went out into the kitchen. Grandmother Stephanie, with a heavy sigh, asked Lily, "Is there a pharmacy in the village?" The woman answered without asking unnecessary questions 2 stops away. "From here I'll explain how to get there, at the same time and buy me medicine." All the way to the pharmacy she raced in her head heavy thoughts. She couldn't believe that she could have gotten pregnant. What if it really happened? How to go on living? Where to run to? At the small drugstore, the selection was minimal, but a pregnancy test was found. She bought 2. Just in case, she hurried back home. She could not wait to take a test and find out whether she was pregnant or not. Torturing herself with the unknown is worse than knowing the truth. When she returned, she gave the medicine to Stephanie and hurried to her privacy to check the test. Following the instructions clearly, Lily did everything. Time dragged awfully slowly. 1, 2, 3. She squeezed her eyes shut, took a deep breath, and opened them. She looked at the test. One line was bright. Lily started to look closely, and it seemed that a second line was visible, but it was there. The girl tried not to panic. She should do another test tomorrow morning. Then everything would be clear. She reassured herself loudly. But she stayed in bed all night, and as soon as it bloomed outside the window, she rushed to do a second test. It showed 2 lines. The second was so clear that she didn't even have to look closely. Panic gripped the girl. She didn't know what to do and how to proceed. The first thing to do was to go to the doctor and find out for sure if there was a pregnancy, and then make a decision. Quietly and clearly, Lily spoke. She cherished the thought that the test might have lied. That same day, she went to the hospital. She was very lucky to get in quickly. "Hello." Entering the doctor's office, Lily said, "It seems that I am expecting a baby." The doctor, after examining Lily, sent her to an ultrasound. "Is it a planned baby?" asked the doctor who performed the ultrasound. "No," answered Lily quietly. "What is it? Are you going to keep the pregnancy?" Without answering her question, the doctor asked. "I do not know," she mumbled. "And what is it? Tell me how it is." "Do you understand?" "A little busy," said the doctor. "At the moment, there is no fetal heartbeat. It may be due to the small term, but most likely in general, I will not scare you. Tomorrow take a blood test, and in a couple of days come back for another ultrasound. If nothing changes, then you will definitely need a cleanse. Or maybe they'll give you a pill. That's not up to me." From the ultrasound room, Lily came out not alive, not dead. On the one hand, she did not want this baby. But on the other hand, it is so scary to live a few more days and not understand what is happening. She hadn't managed to calm down, even in the time it took her to get to the village. Going home, where her grandmother Stephanie and Jacob were waiting for her, she didn't feel like it. She needed to calm down a little, to come to her senses, to gather her thoughts, to be alone for a while. Lily went to the river. She sat down on the bank away from people who had gone for a swim because of the heat. The girl looked at the water, and the water beckoned, mesmerized her. Or maybe she could jump in and be done, suddenly thought Lily. She immediately scolded herself for her temper. "I can't jump. Who will Jacob stay with?" In her mind she reasoned, but Lily decided to jump after all. She wanted to freshen up a bit. She had no swimsuit, so she decided to dive with her clothes on. In the morning she wore comfortable shorts and a tank top, not a long sundress. As she had intended to do in the beginning, with more air, Lily dived from the shore. She knew the river was deep enough at this point. She and Davidom had already gone swimming here a couple of days ago. Come to the surface. Lily heard a stern shout. "Hey, what were you thinking? Are you going to drown or something? You're not going to drown yourself, are you?" After a couple of seconds, she saw a young boy swimming toward her with quick movements. "Can you hear me?" the guy asked Lily. "I hear you," she replied. "Why? I thought you had decided to drown yourself." "Thinking," the guy said. "You were standing there, and then bam, you jumped in the water with your clothes on. But I was coming to get you," he went on. "My name's Robert, by the way. And I'm Lily. I'm not going to drown myself. I just decided to swim. Why didn't you bring your swimsuit?" he muttered to her, who was uncomfortable. For in the main, the guy had read her mind. A couple of minutes ago, she really wanted to jump in and not dive out. Lily climbed ashore and began to bask in the sunlight. "Who are you here to see?" Robert asked, who also came out of the water and stood next to Lily looking at her. "To Grandmother Stephanie, from the third house." "Granddaughter, is it?" continued the questioning the guy. "Yes, granddaughter. Come on, I'll walk you home because I don't like your behavior." Lily shrugged but did not refuse an escort. Her grandmother Stephanie and Jacob, who had come home in wet clothes, looked at her with bewilderment. "What happened? Did you fall in the water?" Stephanie asked anxiously. "No," the girl answered quietly. She was ashamed of her appearance. "I just wanted to swim, and I did not have a bathing suit. So I jumped in with my clothes on, and I went after her," Robert whispered. "Oh, I didn't see you there." Grandma flashed her arms. "What were you jumping after her for?" "I thought she was going to drown herself," he muttered. "She jumped off with her clothes on and didn't come up for a long time. I got scared, so I went to save her." The guy fell silent. He looked at me like he was in a bad mood. "I want to go to the river too," Jacob said. "It's so hot. Baba Stephanie won't let me go alone. Come with me, please. I will." Lily sighed heavily. She did not want to go anywhere. She wanted only one thing: to lie down, to rest, to clear her head. But she did not want to let her brother go along to the river, and so she said, "Let me change my clothes and we will go." "Do you mind if I come with you?" Robert asked. "I don't really care." She shrugged her shoulders vaguely. Jacob did not say anything at all. So Robert decided he could keep the two of them company. All the way back to the river, Robert chatted non-stop. He talked about his work hobbies and different funny stories. Lily was silent for the first time, answering questions in a single voice, but then she got involved, and the conversation even managed to take her mind off her knot. Fun thoughts, a little. In the end, the guys had a great time at the river and went home satisfied. All night long, Svetochka was twisting in bed, overcome with heavy thoughts. She dreamed of how she lived with a small child in Pasha. They have nothing to eat catastrophically. Not enough money to somehow survive. Svetochka goes to her ex-husband for help, but he only laughs in her face and calls her a bad name. From such a dream, she woke up in tears. She was shaking so badly. As soon as she calmed down a little and fell asleep, she began. 1:45, another scary dream, and so on into the morning. In the end, Lily became absolutely shattered, but she had no time to feel sorry for herself. She had to rush to the hospital to get tested. Lily hoped that today the doctors would be able to clarify the situation, and she would know for sure whether her pregnancy was progressing or not. But once again, she was disappointed. "You need one more test tomorrow, and then after the weekend." "Well, on Monday, go to the second ultrasound. Then all will be decided quietly," said the doctor. Lily returned from the hospital in a depressed state. She had no idea how she could live so many more days in the unknown, which exhausts and eats away at the inside. The girl did not even have anything to distract herself with. Nadezhda Vasilyevna did not ask her anything, but she understood a great deal. That is why she would not allow her daughter to work in the vegetable garden. And the girl could hardly be a good helper. She often had stomach aches and dizziness. General weakness was ever present. She wanted clarity with her thoughts and fantasies. She drove herself deeper and deeper into depression. At least Robert, her new acquaintance, dropped by periodically to try to cheer her up. The guy, despite the age difference, got along quite well with Pasha, and they talked a lot for this reason, and had to tolerate him. Although she was not open to communication, Monday was approaching inexorably. Lily, waiting for it, and at the same time dreading it. She wanted certainty, but it frightened her. She wanted certainty, but it frightened her. She went to the hospital with a heavy heart. It was as if she felt that everything would be bad and mentally prepared for it. After taking the tests, she patiently waited for the results and for the doctor working in the ultrasound room. The doctor held the ultrasound in silence, staring intently in the monitor unit. Something impatient asked Lily. "Lie still," sternly, the doctor said, and the girl fell silent. After a couple of minutes, the doctor spoke. "I will take the results to your gynecologist, and you get dressed and go to him." Lily did not have time to say a word. What Whistle got up from his seat and quickly left the office. 1, 4, 6. The girl realized that something was wrong with her baby, but she thought about it in a distant way. She took her time and got dressed and went to the gynecologist's office. There was a small line, and the girl began to wait obediently when her time came to enter the office. Svetochka was shaking. The tension was so strong that she could no longer cope with it. "Unfortunately, the pregnancy is not progressing. You need to do a cleanse." Looking at the patient, the doctor spoke point blank. Sveta's eyes grew hard. She didn't seem to want this baby, but she was scared. She has slowly tried on the role of the mother. "There is no chance?" Quietly she asked. The doctor silently shook her head, letting her know that no miracle was going to happen. While Lily was lying in the hospital, Dima called her several times. The guy offered his help, but the girl refused it rather stiffly. "Dima, please don't call me," Lily asked. "I don't need anything. I'm fine. Just stay away from me. Okay. Okay. Sadly answered the guy. Sorry, he didn't know what had happened to Sveta. Jacob only told him that her sister was in the hospital. After hearing about this, Robert asked for the girl's phone number, Nadezhda Vasilievna, and began to call. But Lily reacted negatively to the calls, and that saddened him. He liked Lily, even though she behaved very coldly to him. After a few days, she was given all the references she needed. Going outside and breathing in the warm air, Lily felt much better, even though her soul was still aching. She tried to calm herself down, but I wouldn't dare to have an abortion either. So everything that had happened was for the best. It was meant to be. Perhaps such thoughts seemed terrible to someone, but they helped the girl to cope with a lot of grief, not to fall into depression and move on with her life. After the hospital, Lily tried to keep herself busy with housework so that she wouldn't have to think about anything. 6:20, even Nadezhda Vasilievna's timid remarks about saving herself had no effect on the girl. She wanted to do something, to be needed, and not to think. Lily was afraid of her thoughts. They were too sad and heavy. But as time went by, her spirits became calmer. Not only the housework contributed to this, the fact that the calls from her ex-husband had gone away added to the peace of mind. If in the first week, David called several times a day and even flooded the light with messages, then the calls became less frequent, once a day, once a couple of days, once a week, and then stopped altogether. The girl was happy about this, though deep down inside she was lurking anxiety. She could not believe that Xenia, who had been threatening and shouting, had suddenly given up his position. Lily waited for a catch, but so far there was no catch. The ex-husband simply disappeared from the horizon, which gave the girl a chance to calm down a bit and start breathing fully. Also, Dima was actively courting the light. His advances were so childish that they killed the girl. The guy dragged the light with armfuls of wildflowers, brought berries from his vegetable garden. Despite the fact that Robert was a year older than Sveta, he was terribly shy of her and did not always understand when a girl was joking and when she was being serious. But Lisa was nearing the end, and the light and Sasha had to go back to the city. It was time for the girl to think about work. It was simply unrealistic to live on her brother's allowance. And the boy had to go to school. So going back to the city was inevitable. You should definitely come next year, said Nadezhda Vasilievna, brother and sister, when those in the bag were about to leave the hospitable home. Better yet, come for the New Year holidays, the old woman continued. It is very beautiful here. You can go skiing and skating. It's unlikely that mine will come out. Nadezhda Vasilievna shook her hand. Though you do not forget, I've become so attached to you over the summer. 8:35, we're coming to, Lilian Pasha said in one voice and hugged the women. Okay, we have to go, or it will be dark before we get home, Lily said, and took her bag and went out on the street. Just before she reached the gate, she saw Dimka. The boy ran at full speed towards the house of Nadezhda Vasilievna. He made it in time, muttered Robert, entering the station. And why were you in such a hurry? Asked the surprised Lily. I thought we said goodbye yesterday. It wasn't you I wanted to talk to. A little embarrassed, Dima answered. About what? Well, in general, I really like you, he said, digging in the pockets of his work pants. Dim, I like you too. You're a very nice guy, and I'm glad we met, quietly muttered Lily. When you're in the city, call me. We'll go to the movie. We'd better get going now, or we'll miss the bus. Come on, Svetochka said to her brother and started to walk around Dima. Wait, begged the boy, finally finding something in his pocket, which he could not find for so long. What's the matter? Yes, shut up for a minute. Let me collect my thoughts, said Dima, and then he blurted out light. Marry me. Having said this, the The guy held out the light, a simple silver ring. What did the confused girl interrogate? "Marry me," a little louder and more confidently said Robert, and looked at the light at point blank range. At that moment, everyone was looking at the light. Dima, Jacob, and Nadezhda Vasilievna. Everyone was waiting to see what she would say, and I agree, unexpectedly for all, especially for herself. She answered she didn't love Dima. At least she didn't feel the way she felt when she married Xenia. But she liked Robert. She was attracted by his openness, his kindness, his desire to take care of her. And the light also liked the lack of impudence and vulgarity. In all the time he was with this guy, he did not allow himself a single thing that could get a girl in trouble. 1, 10, 53 even kissed in the light once. Robert apologized for his impulse for a long time, though Svetochka herself didn't mind. Probably the only reason she agreed was because she wanted a man by her side. Lily was tired of being alone. She was also afraid that David would show up and she wouldn't be able to handle his onslaught and threats. And if she had a husband, the girl reasoned he would be able to protect her. Dimka also had another undeniable bonus. He got along well with Pasha. Over the summer, the boy managed to sincerely love his older friend, and it pleased the girl. The guys played their wedding in 2 months. Or rather, there was no celebration. Lily and Robert got married, and then they came to the village, where the boy's parents set the table. Lily didn't mind because she didn't have any family. She invited only Nadezhda Vasilievna and Mashka, with whom she had managed to become friends over the summer, to her holiday. The girls often kept in touch. Svetochka flatly refused to live in the village. "Dima, you understand that Pavel has a study, and here there is no school. He will have to travel. And in winter, no, I don't want that. Especially Jacob has been going to this school since the 1st grade. There is no need to change anything, and there's no job here. Where should I go? To the village store? Well, I'm not cut out for life in the countryside. To come here for the summer, yes, but not permanently to live." Robert didn't want to cross his young wife, so he packed up his belongings and headed for town. The boy found a job fairly quickly. Robert was a good mechanic, and he was hired by the city. The net found a job too. Jacob went to school, and life was slowly getting better for the boys. The first time Lily returned to the city, she was very afraid that David would show up and break everything. She learned from neighbors and acquaintances that her ex-husband had been looking for her, watching her outside the house. But then he suddenly disappeared, and she was very surprised. Only a year later, from common acquaintances, she found out why David backed out so abruptly. 1, 13, 5, as it turned out. After his wedding elopement in the country, David was like off the chain. He took time off from work to watch his ex-wife outside his front door during the day. At night, the guy would go to a club, relaxing and drinking. At one of the discos, David met a girl, and in the morning he woke up in the same bed with her. The guy sent her away, and 2 weeks later the girl stood on the doorstep of his apartment again, assuring him that she was expecting a child. Xenia, naturally, who wanted to kick the girl out, but also turned out to be a difficult father and forced the guy to marry his daughter. There were rumors that the pregnant girl is not by Xenia, just found just a point to cover the sin. That might have been the case. Only the guy didn't find out anything. The rich father-in-law took Xenia into the family business, and he got the benefits and power he never dreamed of. Even the bonus of a wife and child no longer irritated him, and he'd forgotten all about the light. But Lily learned about all this much later. At first, she was very worried that David would show up, and her life would fall apart. But time passed. David never showed up. Lily and Dima got their life together, learned to live without quarrels or mutual insults. To her surprise, Lily soon realized that she loved her husband intensely as an adult. One unpleasant incident contributed to this discovery. One day, Dmitri stayed late at work. Svetochka tried to call her husband to find out where he was, but the guy's phone was turned off. She stayed up until midnight and started calling hospitals. One of them said that in the evening, a boy was admitted with severe beatings and no documents. Upon hearing this, she began hastily dressing on the go, urging Pasha to stay home and not go with her. But no sooner had the girl left the apartment than she saw her husband hurrying toward the entranceway. "Where have you been?" jumped on Dima Lily. "At work. Where are you going? Why didn't you call me? Said you were running late." I had already changed my mind. 1:15. 15. I'm going to the hospital. They told me there's a guy lying there who looks like you. Lily shouted the last words, unable to cope with the hysteria. Sheesh, sheesh. Dima stroked her on the head. I texted you, I called, but you did not pick up. So you wrote texted and my phone went off. I didn't think you'd be so worried. I warned you, mumbled the guy, hugging his wife. I saw the call didn't answer, and there was no text. I was worried so much. I love you so much. Through her tears, Lily spoke. I love you too, Dima answered her. He was amazed. For 6 months that they had lived together, Lily had never once told her husband that she loved him, and he did not demand it. He was happy with her, and she was not the kind of woman he wanted to have a senseless fight with. The guy didn't want to. But now, hearing that his wife loved him made Robert truly happy. Svetochka sadly took the street, wondering what to do and how to be. Svetochka took sadly down the street, wondering what to do and how to be. She had been living with Dima for 2 years and had been planning to have children for a little over a year, but nothing worked out. There was no apparent reason for the failure, but to dispel doubts, the guys were examined and the doctors assured Dima and Sveta that they were healthy and everything would work out. But time passed and the long-awaited pregnancy came and the girl was depressed. She decided to visit one of the best gynecologists in the city to see him. In light, she had to make an appointment 3 months in advance. You are doing well. I do not see any problems or obstacles to conception. Lily left the eminent doctor with a terrible sense of longing and anxiety. The girl did not know how to solve her problem. She no longer believed in anything. To get her mind off things, Lily wandered into the market, bought some fresh vegetables, and was about to walk home. 1:17. 17 as her attention was drawn dry by a certain old lady. The grandmother was sitting on a small chair and was selling all sorts of things. It was obvious that the old woman did not have enough money and Lily in order to help the woman. She decided to buy something from her. Give me that jar over there. Turning to the old woman, pointing to something she liked, Lily said. She liked nothing else, and the jar might come in handy. Robert liked to keep his screws in boxes like this. Don't take it, daughter squinted out of slightly blind cotton. Wool eyes, muttered the woman. Take a flower instead. Yes, I do not like flowers, and grandmother, frowned Lily. They do not take root with me. But you try it. The old woman insisted. It's not an easy flower. It can make your heart's desire come true. You just have to have faith. It won't grant my wish. Granny grinned bitterly, Svetochka. But the flower still took. Yes, and like the original jar too, giving the old woman the money as twice more than she asked. Approaching the entrance, Lily experienced a strong desire to throw the flower bought in a trash can. But then she felt sorry for the plant. It will be dead in a week anyway, Lily thought to herself. Then I'll throw it away. But strangely enough, the flower took root. She even decorated it with colorful ribbons to spruce it up. Each time watering a plant, girl whispered, well, make my wish. Well, please. True, Lily did not believe in a miracle, and for good reason. exactly 2 months after a flower in the apartment girl got pregnant. Svetochka did not believe in the reality of what is happening when the pregnancy test showed the cherished 2 stripes. Probably a defective one, the girl thought longingly, but she made an appointment with a doctor after all. She did not tell her husband that she was going to the doctor. Robert was having a hard time with the fact that they were not able to conceive. That is why she did not want to get his hopes up unnecessarily. After the examination, the doctor sent the girl for an ultrasound scan. At the end, he asked, "Will you keep the pregnancy?" Of course, Lily answered with joy, though mentally she commanded herself not to rejoice yet. 1947, suddenly the ultrasound, it's all bad. After all, it already happened once. But this time, fate smiled on her. The ultrasound showed that all was well, and the girl hurried home, wanting to share her joy with her family. Before that, Lily dropped by the market. She wanted to thank the old lady who sold this very magical flower. The girl quickly found the grandmother sitting in the same spot. "Thank you, Granny. Thank you, Granny. Thank you for your magic flower." Walking up to the old lady, Lily spoke. "Give for what a dachshund is just a ficus. Magic it is in our hearts slyly smiling," said Granny. After buying the old lady a few better, Lily hurried home in the evening at dinner, told her husband and brother that the family will be a new addition. The male part of the family was happy. From that day on, Jacob and Robert began to cherish the twig as no one had ever cherished it. Exactly on time, the daughter gave birth to a son, whom she and her husband named Matfi. And a year later, the girl gave birth to a daughter, Olga. Lily was truly happy. She was surrounded by relatives, loved ones, and the best husband, a wonderful brother and children. Destiny rewarded Lily for her diligence and for making the right choice. For a choice without the right to make a mistake